Don't be a butthead, quit. Y'all are the worst. You don't even drink bottles. Honestly, this is why I like you best. You raise your kids. Oh, Mac, stop. There's no more. I'm about done with having bottle babies. So Mac and Mercy are down to 1 bottle a day. They are technically old enough to be weaned, and they're not getting like the full amount of milk. They're getting like 16 ounces a day. But I did some research, and it said that goats that do drink milk longer typically are healthier. So since I'm already out here giving Pearl 2 bottles a day, I'd go ahead and give Mac and Mercy 1 in the morning, and then just Pearl gets a bottle in the evening. Hey goaties. Hey little goaties. Hey Gabriel. Hey girls. So look at little Mr. John boy. He's changing a lot. You know, he's mostly white when he was born. He had that one spot on his cheek. But he is getting bigger. He's getting more black on his face. And he's starting to get these brown spots on his body that are really pretty. It does feel like kind of a shame to band him, but he'll be a cool wether. I just don't want to keep him for breeding because how big he is. Like, he's significantly larger than the kids that are 2 months older than him. Like, these kids are all older than him, and he's much bigger than them. Hey, dude. He's so cute. Chloe, you enjoying a little itch there on the ground? All right. This is what you're reduced to when you don't have opposable thumbs. Hey, you need to get down. Don't go in that pig yard. That electric wire is on, honey.
Is the pig in there?
Yeah, we don't play in the pig yard. Yes, the new pigs are in there. Come here, guys. What are y'all doing?
Trying to have fun.
Trying to have fun? Trying, huh? I just came into the greenhouse. We actually have to change the filter out on our well, and we have to change it, you know, ever so often, but I noticed that the water was kind of tinged, which means it's got higher iron content. And I noticed it because I had watered out here and I could see the residue on stuff, like this coppery residue. I was like, oh, what is going on? It's time to change the filter. Ben, are you taking some photos?
Yeah, I don't know what to take pictures.
There's some pretty orange flowers down there. Calendula, you could take those. The boys have been using this old camera of mine to take photos. I've really been hoping that one of my kids would take to photography, and so far Toby has really showed an interest. He uses like an old cell phone that we have, and he takes a lot of photos and he likes to make videos. And Benjamin has recently picked up this old DSLR that I have. It's like very ancient. It was one of the first cameras that I ever had, and he's been taking photos with that, which is really cool. Very pleasing to this mama. Y'all, it is officially getting hot. Like the kind of time of year where you come outside and you're just sweating within the first few minutes, and it just stays that way. And I am not complaining in the slightest, make no mistake. I actually much prefer this to being cold. This winter where we had like the coldest winter that Arkansas has had in 150 years or something like that, I like to die. I just can't even handle cold weather. I'm a southern girl, born and raised, and so when I come outside and it's like 85, 88, that's what, like 30 Celsius, something like that, and I'm like sweating immediately. It's like 100% humidity. My hair is like growing larger by the second. I come out and I'm like, yes, I can handle this. But it is hot. It's the time of year that I have to start doing a lot of the gardening stuff early in the morning or late in the evening, because it's just not really healthy to be out here through the heat of the day. The high tunnel is beneficial though, because it has this 50% shade cloth on it. So it's usually several degrees cooler in here than it is out in the sun. And look at these determinate tomatoes. I'm just so tickled by these. Now they're starting to set blossoms. I haven't seen any like substantial fruit set on them. There are probably some little tomatoes on here, I would guess. I don't know. There's a lot of blossoms. We'll probably have fruit here starting in the next week, but I think they look really good. I got to get the water on. I'm waiting, changing the filter out on the well, and I'm waiting because when I watered these back things, it left a residue on the plants and it was kind of making them a little crispy. So I didn't water everything else yesterday. You can see the soil's darker back here. I don't know if you can tell that kind of copper gleam that's on stuff. It's because that well filter needed to be changed. Now look at this. This bed is full of some sort of fungus, mushrooms coming up. Inevitably, every year, whenever it starts getting to the time of year where it's real warm, and especially still in the spring where it's still fairly wet a lot of places, I'll start getting pictures from people or tagged in photos of mushrooms or funguses, mushrooms growing in beds. And people will go, oh my gosh, there's mushrooms growing in my garden. What do I do? Is this bad? Mushrooms growing in your garden is not a bad thing. Now you can pull them out if you feel like they're in the way of something, and a lot of times you'll get like a big cluster and they'll, you know, crowd your plant and keep it from getting enough light or whatever. I leave them a lot of times. Mushrooms growing in your soil are just showing that your soil is healthy. That's a good thing. Like having bacteria in your soil, you want soil that's full of life. And you're going to see mushrooms, especially if you're growing organically, if you're adding organic matter back in, because you're creating this warm and moist place for them. That's where they like to grow. I'm actually changing plans on my tomatoes. I was planning on doing what's called a Florida weave, which is where you set up stakes and then you weave twine or string or something throughout the tomatoes to hold them up. And my friend Jill came over yesterday. Of course, Jill's the one who is buying my farm, and she's been coming over and planting things in the meantime. Like, so we emptied out like the rest of our cabbages and harvested everything else. So I had this big spot here in the high tunnel, and Jill came and put in dahlia tubers all in there, so it'll be full of flowers. And that's because we're moving from this property in like 9 weeks, and those things are going to be coming to like ready to be cut and harvested about the time that she's moving in. And so we're sort of transitioning that way, where I'm planting everything in the meantime. I'll be harvesting a lot of this, they'll be harvesting a lot of this, and it's just a really nice way for me to still get to enjoy my garden fully in this last season without the overwhelm of having to actually manage everything on my own, which is really nice. Like, because I couldn't harvest all of this for myself. I'm not gonna have time to preserve all of it. So kind of doing a sharing thing, it's gonna help me move on, because I don't have to watch it all become overgrown because I don't have the capacity to do it. It's also gonna help them move in, because when they're moving in the height of the season, they're coming into food that they can harvest for their family, and, you know, flowers that they've planted to harvest to sell and all that stuff. She was over here though, and I told her that I was considering doing the Florida weave. I grew determinants specifically to have a more hands-off crop back here. Last year I did indeterminates, which had to be staked, continually tied and pruned, and I thought, well, I'll grow determinates because I won't have to prune them, I won't have to give them as much support. Well, I thought the Florida weave would be a good option. I've never done it before, and she actually told me she had done the Florida weave on her determinate tomatoes in a tunnel last year, and she said that it was really actually very hands-on, and that she had to keep weaving. She had to regularly make sure it was weaving, because these plants got so heavy with fruit that it wasn't as quite as hands-off as I hoped it would be. So I think I'm probably going to go back to a row of cattle panels for each of these rows of tomatoes and just tie them to that, and it'll just be a sturdier support for them. Because while determinate tomatoes don't get as big as indeterminates by any means, I mean, they still get pretty heavy when they're covered with fruit. I think that'll just be a good option. We had all those little chicks in this little tractor thing in the electric fence, but we lost a handful of them. I don't know if something was flying down in and getting them, or if they were somehow getting out and then just not making the way back in. But what we decided to do was go ahead and introduce those to the big flock and let them share in here. We brought these little chickens out here and we put them in the coop at night to, you know, kind of introduce them together. And it's been pretty smooth. It was a little bit of a risk, but we didn't have another great option. With it being so hot, a lot of times you can like put them in a dog kennel in with the flock so they can get used to each other. But I also don't have a super aggressive flock. So sometimes you have really dominant hens that'll just be awful to new chickens. But it was just enough to put them in at night and make sure that they had space to get away from them. So here's all the babies over here. They still haven't learned to go up in the coop, so we're having to come out here at night and put them all back in the coop because they'll just huddle up underneath it. Okay guys, it's the middle of the day, so it's really bright out here. But we had to come back and look at the black hollyhocks one more time. I told you I'm gonna keep showing them. Everybody that I show these to, they're just amazed by them. In the bright sun, you can tell that they're actually kind of reddish purple, but really dark and beautiful. I'm so in love with the garden, and this year it's just such a sweet thing how full and lovely it is. I'm just so pleased with it. Oh my goodness. I've been enjoying every minute that I can, you know, having coffee down here, bringing meals and just sitting out here. I can't quite capture exactly what this season feels like, but I want to be faithful to make videos and share it with you guys because I just feel like you are such a huge part of it. While we're wrapping up our time on this farm, it's been 7 years, and we're enjoying this one final season. And I've talked about like letting the garden grow wild and all that. Really, I'm just letting the volunteers grow. We're still weeding it and all that stuff, and I'm just making sure that it's completely full and used. Probably growing a little more flowers than I have in the past, less concerned about production and more concerned about enjoyment. And I'm loving that I get to do that. And I'm loving that I get to share it with y'all. But this is such an interesting time because like we're making this leap forward into what's next for us, which is gonna be a bigger farm. It's gonna be more sustainable food for our family and growing things with that in mind. But like, we have such big dreams, and I don't know, I feel right now like while we're recording these things and I'm recording these last little bits on the farm, even when I don't feel like I have anything to show, it's just kind of like, hey, this is still growing and it's still moving me and I just want to share it with you. And one day I'm gonna look back on this and be like, wow, that was such an interesting season of transition. And I don't know, I like to think that maybe you will too. And I know that if I am savoring every last minute here with this farm as it is, that I know some of you are as well. And I'm really excited to see what Jill and Nathan do. One of the benefits of having our friends kind of take this over is that they have different goals than us. A lot of the same appreciations for beauty and all of that, but different styles and all that. And so it's just gonna be really interesting to see this framework built upon and added to and changed and all that stuff to create something else that's also lovely. I was talking to Jill yesterday and I was talking to her about like the great value in just showing people that there's worth in doing what they can do. It's different scale for us, it's different scale for all of us, and different people are in different places. I love to see what you guys take out of as inspiration and as learning and all of that, and you go and you create your own expression of it, and you guys will send me pictures of like your gardens and your different spaces, and I'll see some of those aspects like the cattle panel arches, and I'll see some of those inspirations shining through, but they're also different. And that is the beauty of this, is that right now I'm not trying to create something to say this is exactly how you should do it, exactly to this scale, exactly as I've done it. That would be so foolish to think that we could do that. I mean, you guys don't all live here, for one. You don't all have the same physical capacity. You don't all have the same goals. It's gonna be different for each person. But I love seeing the common threads that are woven throughout all the different expressions. And I love overall the prevailing message that there is value in doing whatever you can where you are. And that is ultimately my hope. Even now, you know, we're making this bold move and this big leap, and we're laying all the chips on the table and saying we're gonna go all in on a big dream. And even that, there's going to be little threads of inspiration that you might weave into your own story. And I don't think we can even see the fullness of the tapestry of how we're all woven together, and how our shared ideas and encouragement of you know, all of us are woven together. Because you should see the connections that I see happen in the comment section sometimes. Do you know that through we have our Facebook group, Friends, Roots, and Refuge, like people have made lifelong friends in there that they're like doing life with now because they met over a YouTube channel, because they searched how to grow tomatoes. I don't think that we can ever fully understand the ripple effects of everything that we do, but when our intentions are kindness and encouragement, I think that we can be confident that those ripples are going far and wide. And I don't know, Jill and I had really great conversations yesterday just about big dreams and doing what we can with where we are, but always staying in a place of refusing to stop moving forward, of saying I am constantly going to think, well, what else good could I do for people and for the earth and for our families, and to see our own dreams come true. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Sometimes I do feel a little silly turning the camera on when I don't feel like I have anything super spectacular to teach or say or show, but the real reason I keep doing it is because I love sharing this journey with you. It has so much value to me, and I know that it has a ripple effect. I bless you guys. Till next time.